evening and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness. Last night, HBO aired episode 2 of Lovecraft Country. We all watched it and we're ready to discuss. Remember, there will be major spoilers in this episode. And I should also say, please feel free to comment. We love chatting with you in the days following the episode. Tonight, our participants will be Josh Harwood, Wayne Worthy, Stuart Lipley, and John Dos Passos, and myself. So let's go ahead and begin. I thought we threw a lot of information in this episode. It was like running through a Call of Cthulhu scenario, but at breakneck speed. And I had some problems.
Yeah.
I had some problems with what the Deus Ex Machina, if you will, which I thought there was a lot of. I liked the episode. I'm still enjoying it. I love the acting is superb.
Yeah.
But it was like Uncle George. Uncle George was locked in his room. He read he looked at the books. He found the book that opened up the magic door. He went through the door and into the room where he found the book that told him all about this secret society and let him know that Atticus was actually more in charge than everybody. And I'm like, wow, are we just like...
Well,
yeah, I agree. At the end of the scenario, I really felt, or not scenario, at the end of the episode, I really felt it could have been 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it should have. It should have been 2 episodes.
I don't know. I think now that I have kind of, with the book, going by the book and what they've tried to cover and that, I feel, when Montrose comes out of the dirt.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where the episode should have ended. I think they should have added a bit more to bulk it up and ended it there. And then gone on to all the ritualistic shit in the following episode.
Yeah.
In the yellow shirt.
Okay. Go on. I'm sorry.
When he came out of the ground, he had that yellow shirt on, which was the same cut as Atticus's shirt earlier. I don't know. There's something about it. It seemed like, whoa, that's the exact same shirt. I don't know if any of you caught that.
I didn't catch that. Yeah, I didn't catch that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't.
The thing about it is, I don't know about if you know about the book, but the book is more of an anthology of stories within the same family. So, yeah. So this is like sort of part 1. When it comes to screenwriting, you got to condense a lot of stuff. So in the book, it goes more into it. It's not a Deus Ex Machina. Actually, the way the ritual ended was different. In a way. Yeah.
That's one of the things I wanted to point out is, I was reading about it, that, like, you're right, that the knowledge of the family is different in the book, and the ritual ending is different in the book. And so they're kind of straying close to a Deus Ex Machina, but they do have explanations within the lore, and I agree.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, there is more when you read further into it, and when the episodes get further into it, you'll understand why things happened the way they did. It's not a Deus Ex Machina.
I figured that case,
And in the novel, the monsters are more overt. There is some, like, maybe there is a creature in the forest, like Morgan pointed on in the first episode, but you don't see it. Well, read it in the novel.
And here we saw them having a cow give birth to one.
So
that was sweet. I love that.
I love that, but I mean that wasn't in the book. But I love that
in the book. But it was a good scene.
That was cool. Because I was like, okay, she's going, like, why does she have servants go and take the calf out or whatever? And out comes this creature, and I'm like, oh, that's so awesome.
And they treated it like,
exactly. So that sheds a very particular light on Christina's character, played by Abby Lee, where this is no big deal to her, or this is very expected by her.
Right. The occult and the unnatural for her are just like daily occurrences. They're regular things.
See, my first
yeah.
immediate thought was that Mr. Braithwaite was genetically engineering them, and that's what she expected because this is what they've been genetically engineering. I'm thinking more science fiction,
Okay.
you know.
Right. And because last week there was talk of them potentially being Shoggoths, but I think at this point that wouldn't make sense, would it? I mean,
only because he's referring to
Right.
Lovecraft stories that he's read.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't see them changing shape.
Right.
Also,
So
yeah, another thing to mention is just because we'll talk about Christina is Caleb in the book.
Yes.
She's not. So, but we touched on that last week, so I won't go into too much detail.
Yeah. Speaking of, I was wondering, so about the Atticus thing, I know that in the book, Atticus, I think it's when they get there and they start like realizing about the Braithwaites, he reveals, he's like, oh, I do know a little bit about this, and I do know about, like, he does know about his history. Does he know that he's potentially one of the last heirs, or does he find that out later?
That's in like that portion of the book or that story, his Atticus's story. What happens that's different in the book and in the show. I think he comes across a book that talks about, it's a language, like the first language.
The language of Adam, yeah.
And so he actually reads it and like learns it, and he messes with the ritual where he's safe and everybody around him, you know.
See, that would have made sense if we'd have had more than one episode on this part.
Yeah.
True.
You know?
Right.
But
how many episodes are there going to be? 10?
There'll be 10 episodes in this series, but there is talks there might be a second series.
Right.
Okay.
So that's I guess kind of what I was meaning. It seemed like everybody seemed to know what their place was and what they were doing way too quickly.
Well,
it
goes to one of my major issues with the thing. It's the last 20 minutes. It's just skipping to place to place to place, and it's like you've missed a scene or two.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the dining area where you have the dining scene where Atticus tells them to get out,
right,
and then it skips straight to them going to the where Montrose is being held.
Yeah,
and there's nothing in between. I feel like there was a scene missing there, and in that last 20 minutes, there's a few scenes like that. But I feel there's something missing in between.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a while since I read the books, but I remember that scene in the book, and I think that Atticus and the guy that's kind of waiting on them or whatever has an actual discussion.
William.
They skipped that, and I think that might come in later.
Well,
so when you're screenwriting, you're condensing certain things. You might move things and shift things to tell your story in a certain way.
Right.
But you're
we discussed that last time
Yeah.
too, that you have to shift things around when you're doing
but
for
the problem in this case is I just think it came across too fast paced for a few people to.
There were jumps of logic.
Yeah.
Okay.
That irritate me when we do it in game. That I saw here.
Yeah.
For instance, why would they think that Montrose was hidden inside of a wall in the basement of that tower where the meat is hanging? I
didn't get that either.
Yeah.
They just went right to it.
There was the line that it's the only stone building in town.
And you won't be able to hear if someone is being held underneath.
It's a very throwaway line.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't he be in the basement of the big house?
But I think that's a very good point about. Go ahead. Sorry, you first.
No. I was going to say is I think in the book there was a bit more investigation in that part. So they again, because it's a show, they're rushing it and they've only got a certain time to tell that story. But yeah, I get it. I get your concerns.
And then when they opened up the wall and they looked down the tunnel, instead of going down the tunnel, they're suddenly outside waiting for him to pop up out of the ground, which they seem to somehow know where he was going to pop out of the ground.
Yeah. That
So
was
those,
a little bit
I think
silly.
those might be slight flaws in the writing.
Um,
I also had my first problem right in the beginning, and this is maybe a really silly and meaningless one, is that Uncle George in the room with all the books in the beginning, and he wakes
I
up and
love
everybody's
I love it when
The
he
moving on up
except that
sequence.
he pulls the books off the shelf, surrounds himself on his bed, and starts reading. I'm like, nobody would do that.
Yeah,
You got the books right there.
Yeah.
I know, but I think it was just meant to be like Letty and George
Yeah.
having a bit of fun. I think it was.
In contrast, the brilliant scene was when Atticus asked Christina, he says, well, take the spell off them. And she goes, done. And all of a sudden you hear them screaming down the hallways when they can suddenly
that's
remember.
awesome.
That was awesome.
And I think that, there's a good point. There's something that happens sometimes with like horror or with stuff, with this kind of thing, is that the writers are trying to get across this feeling of like the characters are not sure what's going on and they're being played with, and there's all these things happening very fast, and so they want to convey that, but then they sometimes do it too well, and so we're not sure what's going on. And it's like there's all this quick paced things going on, and they're having to rush through the house, and they're playing with them, and they're there's these false doors, and they can look into the rooms, and it's like one-way magical mirrors, and
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which is cool, but I wish we had more time to savor and understand. Exactly. It's just like, oh, this makes sense, but I have to think about it, and I'm too busy watching to think about it now,
And I kept thinking, well, we'll have further adventures, and then the whole house comes crashing down, and Uncle George is dead, and I'm like,
oh.
However,
that
is my other biggest gripe, because I don't know if it is yours, Wayne, as well, but killing George is a little bit knowing.
I'm not
what
I'm not going to say anything.
Well, I'm
all
hoping, considering the caliber.
All I'm going to say is let's watch the next episode.
Yeah, save it. You should write down the notes and save it for when they're not spoilers.
Well, and I have a feeling, of course, that it's not the end of Uncle George, but
no, I've even put in my notes. I'm pretty sure it's not.
I was really upset. I was like,
was that Stuart?
I was too, but what I wanted to give complete praise to the actor who played Uncle George.
Yeah.
Who in only two episodes, he played such a endearing character that I was really sad when he passed. I mean, 2 episodes, and I'm like,
and the first episode.
Jonathan Major's reaction to his death. Like, Atticus is just
that was really good.
Yeah.
But
those guys can act. All of them can act.
Props. George's actor is Courtney B. Vance. He's been doing this since like the 70s.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
Vance Rock.
He was great.
Wow.
Yeah, because he gave that, like, him and the writers, they gave that sense that this character was an experienced person with this long story, and in this 2 episodes had so much growth. You know? Yeah.
Like in the first, I wasn't here last week for this, but like in the first episode, him and the scene with him and his wife.
Oh my God.
I brought that relationship there. It felt genuine. It was like, oh, these two are actually married.
Yeah.
You have scenes where there are married couples and they lay in bed and make out and all that other stuff, but it just feels like they're acting.
We said it in the last episode. It felt like that early Saturday morning sunlight coming through the window and just laying there with the person that you've been with for years. And it was wonderful. It really endeared the two of them to me.
Yeah, just in that few minutes of acting, it felt like they were together for all these years.
I think
they were comfortable with each other and everything. Yeah,
I think too what you just said about the play of emotions on Atticus's face. It was complex. It wasn't just, oh, I'm sad. It was that he was sad. It was that, how am I going to tell his wife? And then there was even like, I don't believe it's true. I can't believe it. You could see this constant change in his face.
And the actual physical pain too.
It was right.
Yeah, like I brought
Superb.
that too.
Yeah, so the
I'm
acting in this is phenomenal.
Oh,
I'm hoping Jonathan goes on to do more because he's not a well-known actor compared to a lot of the other
Yeah,
cast members.
I think this
So-
will put him on the map. Yeah,
Yeah, Stuart,
But-
as you were saying.
Now, I was glad
Now-
to see that both William and Christina weren't present when the whole house came collapsing down. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
could see them in future episodes.
Hmm.
Jordan
I-
Patrick Smith as William was my standout side character.
yeah.
William was my standout side character.
Wait, yeah, I love William. I love William. He's great.
He was just there, and he
yeah.
just said a little bit of information, and he just had a straight like face.
I kept
It was
thinking he
just-
was a robot.
Well, yeah, he's that. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely that character. He's like, yep. He's like, I'm in the know, but I'll never tell. And it's like he's not a super, like he's not an immediate threat, but he could be, or he could be helpful. It's just like,
Right.
okay, you know.
He was like David from Prometheus.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Before we go
Wait.
too far,
Okay.
I just wanted to bring up, I know this is last episode, but again, that scene that we were just speaking of at the beginning, that very endearing husband-wife scene. Late last night, I watched the HBO's Comic-Con with all of the actors, or most of them from that, and it blew my mind, and the entire audience is, the two of them just met before they went in and did that scene. It was
Wow.
their first scene together ever. And
Wow.
and just like that,
Chemistry.
wow.
Wow, that is amazing.
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that shows
Now-
their acting capabilities as well. That just shows how
Hmm.
well crafted they are in their or well honed in their
Yeah.
craft, should I say?
I also
Yeah.
can't believe they destroyed that house. I kept thinking, how much did that set cost?
Yeah.
That was a, that
Oh
was
my
a gorgeous
gosh.
set.
Yeah.
The interior of that house is amazing,
Yeah.
and the exterior, just all of that house.
Yeah.
It's well described anyway, but just seeing it, like it.
Now, last week when I was watching the first episode, at the end of the episode, I had gotten this the magician's feel to that specific spot. Like they walk over the bridge, and all of a sudden there's this mansion. You know,
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar with the magicians, but it's the same
Mhm.
way. They go through a little forest or something and end up at the school or whatever.
Right.
Right.
And for me, it, like all the magic stuff that you guys were talking about and you wanted to get into, I felt like for them, this was just normal. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm just doing something flashy and everybody, it's just, I'll just put up a normal, one-way mirror type thing in their rooms and everybody could watch them panic and enjoy it, Because that's
Yeah,
exactly what they were doing, yeah.
Yeah, which is just like, oh, this is normal. We do this for everybody. It's like, okay, that's odd, which, because it's the ancient dawn, right? Yeah, it's because the thematic order of the ancient dawn is very weird, and so them making an appearance was interesting, and so I'm excited to see how they develop that. That was definitely peculiar. The different, I felt like the characters were like there, but they were just this like bubble. Like it was like the side thing that was going on. The characters were too busy with the main thing to even talk to the room filled with dignitaries, and in those, all those guys.
Yeah.
And there's really just that one scene that is integral to the plot where, they pull out the loophole that they really even address the rest of the group.
Yeah.
I would have made Uncle George in charge, because I would say, you actually read the bylaws of our club? You memorized them, you legally analyzed them, and nobody's read those damn bylaws for 20 years.
Yeah,
Tons of
exactly, right?
I liked the village scene. I was kind of hopeful in the opposite direction, because none of the villagers walking around the village looked at Atticus like he was black, which we've gotten from all of the other white people outside of that village. And so I thought, oh, maybe there's not any prejudice here. And then the woman with the dogs is like, oh,
Yeah. I did like the grizzly bear, black bear thing, because she obviously spoke about grizzlies, then she spoke about black bears, but obviously she was putting emphasis
Right.
on it, and it was well done.
Was funny to me because I kept sitting there going, "Oh yeah, I know what she's talking about," because we have black bears up here in the mountain, and I'm like, "Oh, she's like talking."
Yeah,
about
that was.
something."
That like immediately when she said, "Oh no, no grizzlies," I was like, "Oh no," and then I was like, "Yep, that's where, yeah," because that, unfortunately, that's the difference between the North and the South. Is sometimes you get a little bit of subtlety with your racism up north, especially in that time, and so that it's still prevalent, which is unfortunate. But that is, that's one of the integral themes of what's going on, and so I think that was a very interesting scene. But yeah, I agree that I feel like there was more to that storyline that they kind of brushed over. Like, why did they, one line is their explanation for why they thought he was there, and then, I wish they would have touched on that more, so it would have made a little more sense.
I'll tell you this. I get you guys. I get how you're feeling right now, because when I first watched Lord of the Rings and I had read the books, and I'm like, why did they skip this? They're rushing through all. It's the same thing, and I'm always going to go back to saying they needed to get through a part in the story. It's not like the book, where you can sit back and
we've still got a lot to go in the story. I did like the birthing scene. I like the birthing scene because it took
I want
me
more
back.
of that.
The birthing scene was...
I've been there. I've been the guy who had but in a goat.
That creeped me out, because if you go back to the first episode, that creature, whatever is in its saliva or the bite, it changed that police officer.
Yeah, that was weird.
So keep that in mind now. Now fast forward to this birthing scene, and the baby has all that goo and saliva, and she puts it right up to her face.
Yeah.
So what, I was thinking like, oh my God, it could get in her mouth or something. What's going on?
But when you have big animals like that, you sometimes have to reach inside and pull the baby out.
Right.
Oh, but you don't put the slimy thing.
No, you don't go, "Oh, what if we did a baby?"
Because I mean, is it bite as in a fluid transfer? Causes it, or is it just you have to bite? It's because sometimes it is like sometimes they'll do that where it's, oh no, it has to be a bite because it's the metaphorical and the physical nature, but sometimes it's any kind of fluid transfer will cause the transformation. So. Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I feel like I hope they're not playing fast and loose. So I hope that we get an answer there.
It could also be venom. It could be something that the animal doesn't necessarily transmit unless.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like the other cops got torn apart, he just got bit. Maybe they were just, it was a calculated thing.
That's a good point.
Right? Can the thing choose when it infects people, or can they choose when they infect people? Because there's more than one.
If it's like a venom, they can choose not to shoot the venom.
Because
snakes do dry bites too.
You could also imagine that you got the very strong impression from this episode that the creatures are controlled by Christina.
Yes, they're like guard dogs for them, which I hate to call them that, but. Yeah.
Well, it could be more sophisticated still. I mean, she might be able to say, all the other cops, just kill them, but that guy we're going to punish and make him into a slave dog.
When you think about it,
eye monster.
The Shoggoth concept in several of the Lovecraft stories were servant creatures. So if this is sort of a servant-esque creature. Maybe. Yeah.
See, now I thought it was going to be a Shoggoth, and then because a Shoggoth would be more of like a blob-like creature with eyes and tentacles and shit. I was thinking more along the Hounds of Tenderus.
Tendelos,
That's what it kind of reminded me of.
I kind of thought I liked the Shoggoth idea because if they want to grow legs to run around, why not?
Right.
And that's more efficient than slime balls sliming around.
I mean, they do, they do have a similarness to the hounds,
The dogs,
but then they make that. Yeah, they kind of make the Shoggoth sound, if you think about it, kind of.
And the Hounds of Tendelos, I think more as abstract time traveling
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Like
had
shadow hounds.
we had them in a
Shadowhounds,
game
yeah.
recently where they looked like they were composed out of blue glass that sort of slid along itself as they
Yes.
moved.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They
Huh.
and then they just went to a corner of a room and just sort of moved through the corner into the other dimension.
Yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of different depictions of them. I love them.
Yeah,
they're very cool.
the new Dresden book has them in there too.
Oh
He
yeah.
calls them he calls them corner hounds.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I have a question for you all, and you probably are more observant and caught this, but when the mansion, when the estate was coming down, crashing, and Atticus, I believe, was heading out the front door,
Yeah.
and ahead of him in the front door was the lady, the character's name.
It was meant to be Hannah, I think.
His mother?
His mother's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had a book. Now is that implied the Book of Life? Or was that the Book of Death, what they referred to, the Necronomicon? Because she had this huge book. It wasn't a little book. I mean, she definitely had it in one hand. And you couldn't see what she was leaving with.
Apparently, we're not going to answer that question.
I was gonna say the two of them over here, and I can't say anything yet.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I kept saying,
like,
Atticus, just jump through the door and leave old Stanley or what was his name? Brainwave?
Samuel.
Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Samuel
Braithwaite.
Bray, I keep calling him Brainwave.
I did
Braithwaite.
like when they got turned into stone and then they just.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
liked
that
how
was
they
very
depicted
cool,
them
yeah.
as stone.
Yeah, I like that as well.
Yeah, it definitely made me think of a number of those memes where it's like, when the anime or TV show comes out, everybody freaking out. Meanwhile, in the corner, the manga book fans like over here like, should we tell them yet? No, don't tell them.
I will say, Abby Lee, I find her a very beautiful woman, but also I think her take on Caleb Braithwaite is very intriguing.
Yeah, that's
and
at the very least, yeah.
They're two completely different because I see Christina from reading what Caleb is like in the first part that I've read. They're different but similar, and I'm just intrigued to see where she takes Christina in the rest of the series and beyond.
I liked the sort of, I almost call it blasphemous religious stuff with Braithwaite upstairs having a little bit of his liver removed so that everyone could partake of his body.
That was weird.
That was an awesome practical effect because they zoomed in on that and just from a practical effects side, that just looked really well.
Now
done.
the really weird aspect of that is he could have really done that. You could actually remove up to a third of your liver and it would very quickly grow back again. So
I think that's what they're implying,
if you're going to share bits of your body with someone, your liver is the thing to do it.
And I think that's what they were implying is that he did that is because rather than give them a kidney or pieces of flesh,
this is my body.
Right.
Also, again, the cinematography in the entire episode is great.
I was gonna say, agreed. Yeah, the pacing,
sorry,
I felt, cinematography, the pacing,
We were all thinking it, and then Atticus leans over to his uncle and says, "Don't eat that." I thought that was hilarious.
No, I love that. Like it's when you're playing the scenario and everybody's like out of character, like yelling or like posting in chat, and then one person turns in character and whispers it to the other person, like, "Don't eat that." It's like, I know. I heard the 6 voices in my head. Yeah, there's the one person who's like, there's like, the Morgan or me, like, someone's already eating it. Like, what?
This is pretty good. Yeah.
If you eat that, someone will die. What?
What? I'm sorry, huh? 5 million. That's great. Oh, good. Yeah.
Another thing I liked about this episode is it's not a character from the book as far as I am aware, and going by what Morgan said last week, but seeing Jamie Chung's Gia in the flesh, just seeing what she's going to look like. From
Pops
what we
out of the
know,
fireplace and attacks him
Yeah.
as a...
From what we know, she is a nursing student from Korea. And
Right.
she clearly is affecting Atticus in some way. And we heard her on the phone
Right.
last episode. So
We saw her
I'm
as the
glad we see
princess.
her. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something there. And I'm intrigued with that side plot.
Yeah.
As to where
And then
that-
we're like, "Oh, Atticus, yeah, take off your clothes, Snake."
Oh, that was...
That was
Did everyone else laugh at that? Because I laughed when the snake...
yeah.
You kind of knew it was coming because they showed the picture.
Yeah.
Of,
Yeah.
But it still made me giggle a little bit when I saw it.
Yeah, I liked how Uncle George came to the realization mid vision, or no, that wasn't really a vision. That was like,
Yeah.
well, I guess
Well,
whatever you
induced
call it.
vision, yeah.
Yeah.
I like
And-
how he didn't kiss. He just went on the forehead. He could have gone for the lips, but
Yeah,
he went on the
yeah.
forehead. He said.
Mhm.
And yeah, he's really just such an amazing character. God,
Yeah.
again, I'm just so sad that he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that was another thing. It was like we saw her when Atticus is being cleaned up and he's looking through the mirror and we see a girl wake up. I'd be like, yeah,
Tisha,
you're gonna heal my uncle too before I do this ritual that you want me to do, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, sadly, the deal was he would do it after the ritual.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You had one.
I'd be like,
now
then
and
I
one
won't do the
after.
ritual.
So there was that brief conversation about something to the effect of Atticus's real dad. So
Yeah.
was George insinuating that he's the dad?
No,
Todd,
no,
they're
no.
smiling again, but not answering.
Well, no, you're saying about Atticus's real dad?
Well, yeah, because remember that it was just like three sentences.
Yeah.
We said we would never talk about that.
I can tell you, I haven't read the book, so I can actually say this, that George is not Atticus's real dad, and we know that because if he was, then George would have been the guy in the room that everyone had to listen to. But he wasn't. George did not count. The loophole did not apply to George, which would imply that George is not in the family line, but Atticus is? Or he's not in the proper spot to be an heir?
Unless it had to do with Atticus's mother.
Well, that's what I'm
Mhm.
saying, is that
That wouldn't have been
Yeah.
George's. That wouldn't
That's
have
what
been
I mean.
George's line.
Exactly. So George is disconnected from the Braithwaites.
Well, George, I think, is related to him by marriage. I think his
Right.
wife.
There you
is-
go.
Yeah.
So there you go. That answers it. So yeah. So I think George was saying that obviously that his real father would probably have to do with the Braithwaites,
Well, no. Actually,
because if he has to be if
His-
he's the true heir.
I'm wrong about that. He's the brother of Atticus's father,
Okay.
Montrose. They're brothers.
They
That's
are
right.
brothers, but
Yeah.
But does the Braithwaite blood come through Montrose, or
It does
come
not.
through his mother?
No, it comes through his mother. His mother's birth. She was saying about her birthright.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to see that scene again and see exactly, because it was just a couple sentences. Montrose and
oh, I guess that.
George
Did we
shared.
I'm
also
sorry, that
get
is true.
Did we also get the information that Montrose didn't send Atticus the letter?
Right.
He
Right.
didn't, and I'm
He
sorry.
didn't.
That's actually right.
No,
So it's his mom.
He wrote it, but he wrote it under duress.
Yeah. he
Oh,
didn't.
sorry. That's what
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, and sorry. So
Yeah.
was Atticus's mom that is the Braithwaite?
All right. So her mother.
All right, then never mind. I guess George could be his dad then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. George
That is a thing.
Right.
Not George.
The mother is Hannah.
Montrose.
The mother's mother is Hannah, if I'm
Mhm.
going, and
Okay.
she was the woman who was pregnant, who ran
Right.
through the woods
Right,
and
okay.
was
Like an
there,
angel.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, then yeah, because there was an implication that perhaps Montrose wasn't his real dad.
Yeah, and that's what threw me. It's like, what
Yeah.
was that really about? What
So
was
I
that?
confused that with the Braithwaite thing for a second. So
See,
that my
now
bad.
the reason why we are a little confused, we haven't read the book.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's partly to blame on the show itself. It wasn't clear enough what was going on. Like when they declared Atticus like the head of the whole thing, I'm like, wait a second, where did we get that from? And I can look back and I can say, okay, he read the book and all that, but it's like it was really kind of out of the blue.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of understood what they meant, but it was very like, whoa, okay, like, because there was sort of hints, like they mentioned that, like, finding your destiny or something in the first episode and him reading the books,
his
and he
inheritance.
wants to, and that's why they wanted to go to Artem, and he's there's sort of this, he wants to find his sort of a connection to his his family and things like that, and so there is a bit of a desire from Atticus from there, but it's sort of given like substance when they actually find out that there is something there. He's could be an heir, this special heir, the son among sons.
And then the whole Adam and Eve thing, opening a gate to paradise, that seemed kind of out of the blue.
Like we're trying to open he's trying to open a ritual to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Is that what he's trying to do?
He kind of did speak about, and so he thinks he is. But that story where he was explaining about Adam and Eve, there's a few, he was kind of hinting on what he was doing, but I can see that the problem with writing a screenplay, obviously Wayne's brought it up before, the problem with writing a screenplay, because I've had to do it as part of a uni module, it's very difficult when you're having to write a screenplay to adapt something, because you have to figure out, you can't put everything in.
Right.
I suppose if they could have said this is going to be 3 seasons long, then they could have taken more time with the story on each. One.
You can also figure that most series, at least for me, I can enjoy episodes that leave me questioning and up in the air about a few things. That's part of exploring a story and going, oh wow, this makes no sense, but that should be okay as long as they don't do it all the time everywhere. So you're left thinking, well, wow, what, I wonder how they're going to explain this sort of thing.
Now,
in theory, they should explain.
I would say if you're like 5 episodes in and you're still wondering about what you're wondering about now, it's a problem.
Agreed.
But we're only 2 episodes in, so all of our questions right now might actually be answered. Right. They might actually go into depth with that.
In which case, it'll be incredibly pleasing. That's the nature of speculative fiction. It's you don't always tell the person right up ahead what's going on. You let them figure it out for themselves as the story unfolds.
Exactly. Like with what you were saying about that ritual about opening a gate to the Garden of Eden, and this doesn't fully make sense. But when you think about it, let's say that some crazy ritual was real, and I tried explaining it to you. There would be huge tracts of it that you would think, I must be crazy, or that doesn't make sense. So, and that's sort of the initial presentation of a ritual. Well, yeah, it does seem kind of crazy. What are you talking about? So, is he maybe layering some metaphors in there, or is this verbatim? And again, as you mentioned, Wayne, that down the road, as long as it's answered or addressed at some point and not left this floating question, then it should be fine.
As long as this show doesn't Game of Thrones us, then it should be good.
I am hoping, because
it very well might.
If it stay, I have at the pace they're going, and knowing there's like technically 8 stories within the novel. They seem to. I wish there was a 3rd episode that did the first part. I wish there was another episode, but on the speculation that there might be a 2nd series, because this is doing so well, because they're getting very good reviews on the show. If that 2nd season is correct, they might even surpass the book, and then might have to do
something new. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that'd
like
be
there's only
interesting.
one book. There's only
Yeah.
one book. The other thing I'm thinking, like, maybe if the next episode goes on to the next story, then yeah, I think this would be a problem. But I think that the next episode will open up with the aftermath of what happened in this episode, and then it will lead on to the next stories.
I have to say one thing, because Now TV, for some reason, they didn't do it for the last episode, but when it ended, before the credits, it showed me the preview. And I'm not gonna. I won't say if people
I didn't
don't
watch
want
the
to.
preview.
If people don't want to hear, I will say it for the audience. But if people don't want to hear, take your headphones off.
I don't want to know what's going to happen.
And I'll put my thumbs up when I've said it, Tom. So it says that there will be the witch house, like a haunting in a house. So what's the name? Letty's character inherits a house, which I know is in the next part of the book, and that is haunted. So, and that is seemingly haunted. So
that is a big spoiler. That is definitely a big spoiler for.
And that's in the preview. That's in the preview.
Shit.
So
yeah, I saw part of it, and then
yeah.
So
hate previews. I hate previews.
I was
Did they
annoyed when
Spider-Man
did
it? Did they Spider-Man it? Where it's like, oh, great, thank you for showing me the preview. I know the entire plot of the movie now.
I was annoyed because usually it happens at the end of the credits, and I can just press back and don't have to watch it or pause it. But I wasn't expecting it to come straight after it ended, so they effed me there. I was like, shit. I just thought it was an additional part of the episode because it kind of continued on.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is preview for the next episode. Fuck.
Yeah, if I'm ever watching stuff with people and we go to play the next episode and they start reading the little text thing, I'm like, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear them telling me what is going to happen. Yeah.
I'm hoping the audience also took off their headphones.
Yeah,
whatever,
if you did. Yeah.
And then if they're watching, if they're listening, they'll have had an audio cue because they'll have heard.
Well,
yes.
If you jump back to the 70s, every TV show ended that way. It was next time on Battlestar Galactica, and they'd show you half of what was going to happen. I can't stand that.
But I don't. It didn't show a lot. It didn't show a lot. The preview just kind of showed on the bit that I spoke about. That's all it really showed in the preview.
I always figure, I'm watching the show. I'm enjoying the show. You don't need to try and trap me into watching the next episode. I'm going to watch it. It's the Daryl effect. I call it the Daryl effect. I call it that. Nobody else probably calls it. But back in the 70s, late 70s, maybe early 80s, there was a movie, and I was one of the very fortunate people who watched the movie without knowing anything about it. And it was about a little boy who seems to be lost, and this family sort of adopts him until they can find his parents. And he's an unusual little boy in that he's very good, and he does everything right, and he listens to them, and he plays baseball, and you fall completely in love with this little boy. And then at the end of the movie, you find out that he's a robot. That he is a human brain inside of a mechanized body. And the end of the movie is heart-wrenching. It's great, but it's heart-wrenching. And then you go back and you see the trailer for the movie. And the name of the movie is Daryl. And they go, Daryl, data analyzing, youth, robotic life form. And I'm like, they give the whole thing away in the fucking trailer. That's just this huge impact at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Bad marketing.
Oh
man.
So
bad
I
marketing
don't
right there.
I don't like trailers. I don't like previews.
Yeah.
The thing about previews is I like the previews, but don't actually But you do get some previews
Yes!
that don't spoil anything.
Yes.
But see, you don't know what those stupid
A good
marketing people are
preview.
going to do.
Yeah, because that's what I used to like. That's one of my favorite parts that I miss about going to the movies back when it was, cut off a leg to afford it. Is you get to go, you sit there, you go early with your popcorn, you have a little snack or whatever, and you watch the previews, and you get, you know what's coming out, right? And it's fun, and then they started doing movies, like I said, like was it a Homecoming or Spider-Man, the first one or whatever? The Spider-Man movie was one of those ones where it was the worst. I mean, they give you the whole plot right there, and it's like, whoa, like I don't want that. I want to see it when I go to the movie. And so
or they'll show you the best parts of a lousy movie.
Yeah, it's like, what?
They'll think, oh, this is going to be hilarious. And
the problem with marketing is some people, I'm going to use a game as an example, The Last of Us Part 2 and its marketing, I'm not going to go in spoilers, but it had a certain character in the trailer, in scenes in that trailer, that in the scenes in the game, they're not actually in those scenes. It's a completely different character. That's them hiding the truth from you.
Right.
That's good marketing. But people are just like, oh, they misled us. Oh, we thought he was going to be there, and you can't win.
Yeah.
The thing is that from an actual construction point of view, that happens because they put the trailer together long before they finished the actual game or movie. And there's oftentimes scenes in the trailer that are not in the movie because they were cut.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like I almost for a second I feel like I'm living in some sort of like Carcossian hellscape where it's like I'll watch a trailer and then I'll go see a movie and I'm like, wait a minute, there was stuff in the trailer that never even appeared and scenes that played out differently, and it's like, nope, they just decided that they were gonna decided to redo a third of the movie. Like Rogue One is one of those ones where there's all these lines of dialogue and there's this the culmination of the trailer is like Rey is like on the top of or not Rey, wow, I'm thinking, see here, I'm not spoiling because I'm already confusing everybody. I feel terrible, I can't remember her name. The main character, the wonderful badass, she's very broody. Yes, her the Resistance girl, she's on the like up there trying to do the signal thing and do the whatever, finish the mission, and this TIE fighter comes up over and it's like looking over her and she's like running and it's like zooming up over the tower and you're like, oh no, this thing's gonna blast her or whatever, and it like cuts away and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see that scene. And then in the movie there is no TIE fighter. Thank you, Jyn. It's Jyn. Thank you, Jyn Erso.
Jyn Erso.
Yes,
Jyn Erso.
I love Jyn. She's great. But yeah, there's just this awesome scene that didn't happen. The TIE fighter never shows up. It's just she has to,
Spoilers for that, folks. She dies.
Oh yeah, I was going to say I was trying to be vague, but yes, everyone dies.
I was so happy. I'm like, oh, we finally get a good tragic ending.
Yeah,
I was actually glad and that's the thing, it was the only way for that movie, but I think going back to the actual episode.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Circle back.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, that's good.
Sorry for the tangents, folks.
when Stuart kind of went on, when Tick is getting washed by the women, he looks so humiliated by it. When you see his face, and he must feel like he's being forced to do like a slave, like he is, which he is technically because he's being forced to take part in this ritual, or he can't save his uncle. And I just, again, his facial reactions. Jonathan Majors is doing a cracking job at the acting. I believe where it
came from. They had all the little nuns washing him.
Oh yeah, because women weren't allowed in the inner circle.
I think they're from the village. I'm pretty sure they're probably from the village because they look like village.
Of course, they did look like the villagers. They
all
looked like they were Amish.
I did like that. You had the cultists in their robes. You had the Peter, you had the guy, I've just forgotten his name, William in his suit, and you had the butler in his suit. Then you have the village folk, except from the racist woman, who are in these old school,
Amish
looking, and it was nice. It's nice to see that contrast in class and groups almost.
Well, they've still got me. I still want to watch the next episode.
Oh,
I'm in,
same.
I'm
I-
in for the long run. I'm just in for the long run.
I liked the episode. I liked. I have some problems with the pacing, but other than that,
Yeah.
they're like you say, they're throwing in a lot of information. But then again, it might make sense later.
Yeah, pacing is the only major issue for me, and that is. But the problem is it's really like got me, the pacing. But I think I can live with it because I am still invested. I want to see you till the end. I will get to episode 10, even if I'm the only one here by the end.
Oh, well,
of
I'll
it.
be here.
I think I'll be here.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
I'll be
loving
here.
it.
Yeah.
This happens to be
And it-
like one of my favorite horror books. It was the one that actually scared me the most, to be honest with you. And I read a lot of Stephen King, so I'm gonna be into this to the end as well. Like, I already know the story, how it turns out, but like seeing the differences is what's exciting me. So I always have the original to go back to if I wanted that, but I like with this adaptation.
Yeah.
So,
because they're mixing the book into more of actual Lovecraft stuff.
yeah.
which
Okay.
the book kind of
There-
obviously
Didn't have a lot
alluded
of,
to.
it was, alluded to, but didn't have much creatures or anything like that.
So they're just meshing it together, and I think they're doing a good job at meshing both together. And it's nice for fans of both cosmic horror and then the source
Yeah.
material, seeing it come
Mhm.
together into this fresh take by Misha Green. And
No,
I
I
think
think-
this
Yeah, Misha's doing a great
Yeah.
job so far, at least
this
according to
episode,
Agreed.
props to the
I-
director, Daniel Sackheim. He's directing the next episode as well. And he did a pretty good job in the directing the episode.
Mhm.
It looked good, it sounded good. Yeah.
Now,
I think it's
you
about
guys talked
time.
about your. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it's about time that we get something, even if it's mildly Lovecraftian, that's really well acted.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because what did we get recently? We got The Color Out of
Color
Space,
Space.
which was okay, but
I
some of the
enjoyed it.
acting in it was ridiculous. You know, I felt.
Well,
And
you have
way
Nicolas
overdone.
Cage.
I know. I was freaking out just when they said that in the beginning.
I think the closest thing that is this film's quite Lovecraftian. It's well acted in my opinion. The Ritual is
Superbly
very
acted.
good. The
The Ritual was good. The Ritual was good as well. I like the
Yes.
Void.
Very good.
I always go back to the Void.
The Void was very good.
And they do. I love how again, I don't know how much of this is directing or writing. I'm not familiar with the process of actually putting a show together. But for instance, like the sequence where you had the three of them in their separate rooms and they were having their experienced visions, and they all started as in varying degrees, some violent, some intimate, very personal, very, showing your underbelly, just opening you up.
Right.
And
Vulnerable,
then
yeah.
how they became twisted and very much like, holy crap, this isn't real. And once you go through that emotional ride, then you back out, and now you see that there are the spectators, the sons of Adam, are all there watching them for their amusement, for their snickering, for their judging, or whatever perverted joy they're getting out of it, which adds another level of creepiness of they're like animals in a cage being, spectators just observing them, and it just added this whole nother feel, another layer on top of layer.
It's also kind of nice that we didn't get any backstory for those people, because they are just fucking animals, at that point.
Yeah.
They're degenerated.
The other thing I wanted to touch on was, so in Lovecraft, a lot of the themes deals with madness.
Right.
And I
Right.
love that they touched on that, because with like them having their memory wiped except for Atticus, and then Atticus talks about the experiences that we as the audience experienced with them, and then they're like, what are you talking about? As if he's crazy. And I love that aspect of it, where they were questioning his sanity and the fact that he came back from the war, and is he shell shocked and all this other stuff. So I like that aspect that they're throwing in there. And then the scene that you were just talking about with them being in the room, those aspects, that also has a bit of madness to it and insanity to it. And I really love that they're finally doing that in a horror film.
When Letitia curled up in the corner and was, freaking out, that looked real. That looked like she was really losing her fucking mind.
I was like, oh, she must have lost like 5 points of sanity.
See, I think this is down to, I know Misha Green and Jordan Peele, who is an executive producer, they're both massive fans of Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I think I've read a few, I think Jordan Peele actually plays Call of Cthulhu, the role play.
Jordan,
I hope so.
if you're out there, Jordan, we would love to play a game of Call of Cthulhu with you.
And Misha Green.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously. And Misha Green and Will Wheaton, I did send you a letter.
Look, if you want to play with us, just send Tom an email. Just
anyone wants to play with you.
Jonathan Majors, any of you.
Yeah, please.
Tom at THOM at intothedarkness.club.
Yeah, for sure. I got that vibe. Like, I feel like the people who made this show, they've got a bunch of them have to be Call of Cthulhu players or fans, because this, like, even with George's death, like, that feels like, oh man, like somebody rolled really bad and you didn't let him use luck early on, like, and so somebody had to replace a character.
And there's a line in here. There's a line, and Stuart said it earlier in the day in a message, where Letty goes, we are not splitting up.
Oh, yes, that is.
The first thing that came to mind, like, whoa, this is Call of Cthulhu investigator wisdom.
And then you've got the madness as well, like Wayne picked up on, and you've got just the creatures that are there to like take a bit of sanity from you, and you've just got all this crazy shit happening.
That was another really brilliant moment. Was they're out in the woods and those creatures come up all around them and they're grabbing each other and they're scaring, and she blows the whistle and she sends them away, and all of a sudden Letty goes, "Why are we dirty?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like instantly her memory.
And it adds to the madness.
Yeah.
For Tip, because he's like, what did you just see?
It reminds me of almost like the way that like the yellow sign is sometimes done, like in Delta Green, where if you pass the sanity roll, you don't remember what you just saw. Like you can't picture it in your head, or like the sign. I love that version of the yellow sign, or the silence from Doctor Who, where the second you look away, so it's like you just looked at, like you were doing something and you got interrupted. But you can't. You're like, what was it that just caused me to feel like that? And
you've missed those few seconds.
That's like that. That's that good stuff for the
beautifully
horror.
Executed. Beautifully executed.
I think Tom mentioned this earlier, where like Atticus is in his room. He's talking to Christina, and he's like, "All right, friend, take the spell off of my friends." And she's like, "Done." And then they start screaming. He doesn't remember everything that happened to him. Love it. I love it.
And then he suddenly is trapped inside of his room.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Like, wait, what?
And this is back to Vance, just amazing acting, where Uncle George, remember when Atticus was trying to make them remember the car crash? Like, well, how did the car? How did Woody get back? I love it. They got a nickname for the car. How did the car get back? And it's all fine. Don't you remember the crash? And you could see Uncle George almost remembering it, and then it's like it sounds so familiar, and then it's gone.
Then he goes, "Be quiet, we're being watched."
Yeah. That was so. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
And that shot as well, because you don't fully see William, you just see like his shoulder, and that shot watching them out the window. That was a perfect shot for me. That was just very well executed.
Anyway, is there anything else anybody wants to say about the? We're gushing about the
Yes.
episode. We're enjoying the show very much.
Yeah.
What do you rate the episode? Because we did it last episode. So
Ooh.
I'd still leave it up there with an 8.
yeah.
I don't know
I
why I
would-
would
yeah.
take 2 points off, but then I think
I
that
know
the 10
why.
is something that
It's-
you
it's-
just go.
Yeah,
It's
I-
maybe
I-
on pace.
Yeah, I wouldn't think of it as
I-
taking points off. Yeah.
I would give it. I would give both episodes an 8. And the reason why I would take points off is the anachronism in both episodes with the music. There was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was like my pet peeve, and everything else is fine. I love the acting. I love the story. I love how it's going. Yes, it's going a bit too fast, but knowing that it's a show, I like it so far. But yeah, I would give it an 8, and I hope
Let's-
that they quit with the modern music because
That's,
it just takes you out of it.
it's like they're trying to force, give it an urban sort of feel
Mm.
for modern viewers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is kind of glaring because they are using traditional 1950s music, which
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
fits
Yeah.
Remixed
perfectly.
with modern.
That's where it became very noticeable. Like I think I mentioned last episode, I like there's some movies that did the contemporary music to give it the contemporary feel, like it's cutting edge. It's like they did that with Moulin Rouge with
Right.
Marie Antoinette. And so I can appreciate that to get the feel, to get the cutting edge feel of the time. However, if you're going to then have the music of the era, then you should stay with that.
Yeah.
It's
That's
got to
sort
be
of my-
something it's
Or-
got to be an artistic style that you commit to, and it
Yeah,
almost seems
or-
like they haven't committed to it.
Or like you could do something where you mix like sort of a fusion. So like for an example, the first episode had like a rap song in it. Instead of having a modern rap song, maybe use live instruments and have sort of that rap type beat, but it still flows with this 1950s
Yeah.
jazz.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Could've done-
thinking.
They could have used like postmodern jukebox, where they do the modern words,
Yeah.
but to the older style.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that there's definitely parts where they're like, oh, well, we wanted to give this feel. We thought this scene, this more modern music would be better. It's like, well, there's music that's period accurate, like you guys, like you all were saying, that I think would be better fit. If you want an action scene where you play a pop song or a upbeat song, you can do that. Just do that with an era accurate song. Like I feel like they already did that a little bit.
Yeah, but I feel like it would even be fine if you get a modern day singer to sort of do their play on that particular song, like a cover of that song. You still use live instruments or whatever. You might have a little new stuff in there, but as long as you're sticking to the period, that's fine. But when you start breaking away, and I'm thinking I'm in modern day,
What did we use? Whitey on the Moon. That was the
That was.
Because that's what I was
that
going to say. I think
Right.
it,
Bill
like the, what
Scott
was it?
Heron.
What's the song?
very impactful.
The one from the first one, the song.
lot of-
It was
whole lot of shaking.
Whole Lot
going
of
on.
Shakin'. Thank you. Like Whole Lot of Shakin' and Whitey's on the Moon. Like those are period accurate songs that are
And they're good
perfect.
music.
Yes,
They
they
are
are, and
perfect.
that fit that. So I want more of those. Like when they're gonna do an action scene, or when they want to use one of those modern songs, like put in the closest thing in the era. It'll work. Trust me. Like it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they've done it. Yeah.
I
Well
feel
done.
like these people think that they can't get a younger audience to be interested in something like that. However, there's video games like Fallout that has period music,
Sure.
and everybody who plays it, who's into video games
Yeah.
and first-person shooters, love it for the music.
Yeah,
as well.
they've been introduced to period music.
Yeah,
and-
Yeah.
Country Roads managed to
Yeah.
like get into the top 100 again because of Fallout. Like
Yeah.
it
Oh, wow.
made it in the top 100.
Yeah.
it shows you that
Yeah.
it shows you that people like, because if it's good music, people will like it.
Yeah.
Just trust the music of the time. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Well,
It's classic.
Obviously, part of the reason why this show is happening is because I mentioned it last time, that there's an education level that we need to understand some of the things that have happened in the past and to not let them happen again. And there's definitely a scary sort of trend nowadays that's leading back towards some of this racism that really needs to be gotten rid of. It's not only terrifying, it's just plain wrong. I don't find it hard to believe that people acted like that in the 50s, but I never thought about people acting like that in the 50s. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that if there's anything else that I want to say is like that was one of the things I liked about them using the song "Whitey's on the Moon" is I think that perfectly illustrates the sort of vibe. That's one of the important things is that meanwhile we like the civil rights is they're fighting for civil rights is going on, and there's all these things. There's people that are fighting for basic civil rights just to like have the decency of living, and meanwhile that you've got there's white people in the Thematic Order of the Ancient Dawn that are messing around with occult things and esoteric things that they don't even know what they're doing, and so it's like you've got these, you've got the whiteys, they're going to the moon, and then people fighting for basic human rights. I think that's an important part of this series. And so I think that song, like that's one of my favorite parts of this episode. That really made it, like that was a good, I feel like it really shows, like what was going on in that era and sort of what the use of the cosmic horror here to show a real life issue. And I really like that a lot. And so I thought that was really good.
It was very well placed. It was
yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
I know. Yeah.
Thumbs up. 8 from me.
Yeah. John, what was your rating? I rate it an 8 now because I've gone off a 0.5 since
I
we
went
started
down.
the conversation.
I was 8.5. I only went to 8. My thing was, and I understand why they did it, but again, I felt it was rushed. I wanted to see more.
Yeah.
And that's really it. Pretty much everything else I loved.
Well, I hate to be that person who breaks up the 0.5s. So let me think here. I'll say.
I just said
yeah, I think. I think the first. Yeah, I would say the first episode I would put at like an 8 or 9, and then I put this episode at about 7 or 8 because it's like I really think that I really like this one as well. But I agree that I felt like it should have almost been 2 episodes. And so I liked the first episode a little more because I felt like the first episode, I felt like everything had enough time to do, like I felt like it was paced well. And I love the individual pacing. Like I feel like I love the cinematography. I love the scene pacing and like the way that like we thought that a character was dead and another character was dying before we realized that both of them were not as bad as they were. And so that was sort of that was paced really well, the reveal that Letty's okay. Right, and I thought that was interesting, but I feel like the long-term pacing could use a little work. As far as I felt like this, like I said, that this would have been better, almost 2 episodes or an episode and a half of stuff.
Yeah,
I think a good allusion, as you were saying it, is it's like going to a fancy restaurant where the chef's food is delicious, and then they serve it to you, and it's these little things on the plate, and you taste it, and it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
But you want more.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted more of this episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So they're already going on the next course, and you're like, whoa, wait. Like, hold on. Yeah.
Where's my gorgeous giant house? And where's my
because there's a
creepy village?
It's a double-edged sword because if they like this way they'll say that they can get to more, which is true. They're going to get to more things because they didn't take so much time here. But at the same time, there's stuff that they can't touch on more because they've already passed it.
Right.
Right. And so I wish that it would, and I want them to touch on more, but then they would say, oh, if we touched on that more, then we'd have less time for what we're going to show you. And so it's a decent argument there. Yeah. But
you know what?
Really good overall.
I will actually raise it up to an 8.5. You know what?
Okay. All right.
Here's a reason why. You guys are talking. You're loving it. You're just saying you're not having enough of it, and that's a good. That shows that it's a good show and it's a good story. That you want more. Like you're not done with it. You're not looking at the clock and saying, "Is this over yet?" You're looking.
Yeah.
It ends and you're like, "Holy shit! Is it an hour already?" That's a
Yeah.
good show.
The thing is,
Yeah, so
I
I'll-
watched
yeah.
it
I'll
twice
give it
in
an
a
8.5.
row and wasn't bored of it. I watched it once and then once again after to do my notes, but I wasn't bored of it by the end of that second watch.
So
Also-
you've sold me. Yeah. Sorry, I'll say 9 for first episode, 8 for this one.
Also, there's another aspect of it. I watched it with David, and we talked about it for an hour afterwards.
Okay.
So that's a good sign. You know, it's
Yeah.
not something that you just say, "Meh, it's over." You know. So yeah. Okay, I'll give it an 8.
I did. you know what? I'm gonna bump it up to an 8.5 as well, because it's this discussion that is. There's one more thing that I want to do if we're at the end of the discussion. There's just one more thing.
Yeah,
it's
go
to
ahead.
address a comment.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Do we have?
So,
yes.
It's not to do with the show, but just in case we never touch upon this, I thought it'd be nice to acknowledge Richard Smithson in the comments, just in case we never do, let's say, an episode like this, but based on what our favorite cosmic horror Lovecraftian movies are. So I thought if we go around and just say what our favorite cosmic horror-esque or Lovecraft movie is, it kind of answers their question.
Okay.
The Thing. I love
It's
the
the go-to.
1982 and the 2011. I love the sequel, or the prequel, I should say.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I heard good
Actually,
things.
They're supposed to be rebooting it or doing a remake of the thing.
Yeah, they are. 2011's okay. It was too CGI for me. I still liked the effects they did, but it was just a bit too CGI for me. But the original Thing spoiled us.
So yeah, we got The Thing. What else, everybody? Yeah.
I just to add to that. I liked the sequel or the prequel to the Thing.
I did.
I didn't like the CGI, but I liked the story. I thought the story was good.
Mine, because I would say The Thing, but I'm not going to. The Ritual, because I mentioned it earlier, and The Ritual is, I know it goes into mythology as well, like Eastern European mythology and that kind of stuff, but it still feels Lovecraftian to me. It's got that. It feels like a Call of Cthulhu scenario. And
it's more, I think it's more of a Nordic, because they were in Norway.
Because it's Loki, and it's Loki's
Hell.
Yeah, you can be both. I mean, you look at Nodens. There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there is.
But yeah, the Ritual for me, just because the acting was spot on, and it felt like you were in a Call of Cthulhu scenario.
Yeah.
It's weird to picture it like that, but
it felt like that because you got enwrapped in the story that was happening in the beginning about the guy in the liquor store and the guy getting shot and all of that. Not to there are spoilers in this show.
Yeah. And when the friend was, and you even saw the sanity go in that,
right?
Like when people, because the guy was pissing himself while he was just stood in the corner, and
that was a good one. I would say The Ninth Gate, because
is that the one with Johnny Depp?
That was the one with Johnny Depp, and it was because it was the kind of mystery where you had to investigate, and the farther into the investigation you got, people were starting to die around the character. He was starting to put 2 and 2 together, and when he finally puts 2 and 2 together and figures it all out, it goes to hell.
Yeah.
Which, it's not exactly Lovecraft, but it felt very Lovecrafty.
I would have 2 movies out there. So my first movie would be Seven, not Lovecraftian, but I love the procedural and that whole, And the second one is The Void. If you like The Thing, The Void is kind of set in the 80s. It has the practical effects and everything like that, and then it actually goes into some other world, crazy Lovecraftian stuff.
Yeah,
that felt very much like a scenario that we would play.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to actually say there's this crazy B movie called Infinity. It was on Netflix for a little while. Have you seen it?
No.
Infinity. It's one of my favorite movies. It's this. So I won't spoil anything because I want you to all go watch it. But if you can, it's this strange sort of like sci-fi movie where it's just like a sci-fi B movie, and it's about these there's this, it's in this world they have those you can sort of like send yourself across the universe, like transmit, and you can sort of like, and so they are these mining stations that are in deep orbit that, you know, it takes way longer to get there than if you know, shoot yourself, right? And so it takes place, this team is going into this mining facility which has gone dark, and there was this, you know, they had distress calls and they haven't heard anybody, and they sent one team in already and that team went dark, so now they're sending a second team in with the real big boy guns and everything to go check out that team. And so it's this, you know, it's sort of a investigation type kind of thing, and it's a very crazy wild ride of a movie that sort of threw off my expectations. And I thought it was really good, especially for a sort of an indie or a B film. And it's one of those ones that it leaves you asking for questions at the end of it that you'll never find the answers to. And that's sort of that cosmic horror that I love, and I just like hate that. I wish I could find out more, and that, you know, if I write this, you know, I could write a letter to the author, but then they're just gonna be like, whoa, you know, hey buddy, that was all I had. You know.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Thanks to all everyone in the comments.
Yes,
Yes,
there was
we
lots
really
of good,
enjoy reading.
There was lots of good like stuff to read, things that I didn't even think of, and there was stuff in the background that people filled in the comments, which was nice because it was stuff that we weren't aware of, and they helped us out as well. Some very good. I hope we get more like that. Keep it all coming,
please,
in the comments.
And ask questions, and we'll try to answer them if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, it's a good session. Oh, let's see. For those of you who don't know who we are Into the Darkness. We consist of a large group of friends from around the world, and we play a game called Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. We play Tuesday through Friday, a couple of hours every night, and we post the videos to YouTube. We provide audio-only versions for you to watch while you work out or go on your jog or drive in your car, and those are available on iTunes and Podbean. The costs involved with our show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure in the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.